A couple days ago, we took a trip back and looked at the greatest resume in WrestleMania history with Shawn Michaels, and my mind immediately started to drift into how a lot of other wrestlers have stacked up at this event. Last year, we dived into Seth Rollins' strong performances and how he's got a case for the modern day Mr. WrestleMania, but that title could easily belong to someone else. The phenomenal AJ Styles. Now, for a guy who's been with the WWE for nearly a decade, you would think that he would have some classic matches and moments under his belt at this show, but when you look at the resume and you watch back the matches, I was majorly underwhelmed. At least from my perspective, this doesn't scream AJ Styles at WrestleMania. Off the hop, I want to say I'm not saying that he went out there and stunk up the place, because these are far from bad or terrible matches, but looking at the opponents, looking at who we're talking about, everything is from solid to great, but the resume doesn't have amazing moments or those all-time legendary outings, especially when you look at the talents that he shared the ring with. I'll put it to you like this: after facing guys like Edge, Shinsuke Nakamura, Randy Orton, Chris Jericho, and The Undertaker, his greatest in-ring match at WrestleMania is against a 47-year-old Shane McMahon. The problem you notice right off the hop is the Bermuda Triangle of 2007. Since AJ being in the WWE was a long time coming, they take the dream match angle a little bit too much, and as a result, you get things that are 7 to 10 years after the fact, when these guys are no longer in their prime. All the what ifs become reality, and because they take that route so much, expectations are at an unrealistic level. It's like they go to put something down on the board for AJ, and then they're like, all right, what's a mid-2000s, early 2010s match that we would have done if he was here? Now let's make up for lost time. Edge, Randy Orton, Chris Jericho, Undertaker, and surprisingly, the only one they don't run is one that has a proven track record to be good. You know, John Cena. But I'll get to that in a second, because the Rumble match for the title easily could have happened at WrestleMania with far greater stakes. Everyone knows the story. AJ comes to WWE in 2016 and within a matter of months became the guy and the WWE champion. In his first appearance at Mania, he took on Chris Jericho, and the thinking was, since he's just gotten here, they're gonna give him the win. After wrestling at Fastlane, these two formed Y2AJ, the most 2010s mashup, you guessed it, online tag team name. And then a short while later, Jericho turned on Styles because the fans chose AJ over him. Chris burned his shirt, Styles called him Y2 Jackass, and we were set. After Zack Ryder wins the Intercontinental Championship, these two go on, and it's strong. That's the best way I can put it. It doesn't get into that next gear, and it's fine. That's personally how I feel about a lot of these matches. They're just on the cusp of being something, and they never are. AJ kicks out of a code breaker, Jericho a Styles clash, and the finisher is Chris catching a phenomenal forearm into a code breaker, but of course AJ reverses this and wins. That last part doesn't happen because this is WrestleMania 32 and all the wrong wrestlers win. It's okay, he still went on to dominate, and in hindsight, it's not like he fell down the card. It was just really strange considering they wanted to make him a big deal, and he went on to fight Roman for the WWE Championship afterwards. In this year, the rivalry that stole the show was him and John Cena. These two brought the best out of each other, and their trilogy of matches was lightning in a bottle, but it came to a close at Royal Rumble 2017, when what should have happened was the finale to this rivalry coming to us at WrestleMania 33. Cena was unable to beat AJ, chasing his record-tying title win, and he was already down 2-0 one-on-one against him. Instead, that happened at the Rumble. Number 16 was a very forgettable reign. He lost it at the Elimination Chamber, and a short while later, he feuded with The Miz and Maurice. Title versus career was right there for them to do, and it would have made Cena winning his 16th feel even more special. Easily, there was some sort of pathway for this to happen at the event, and it would have avoided A, Maggot Mania with whatever Randy and Bray were out there doing, B, both of them have a high profile match and get the spotlight after the stuff they had just done for the past couple months. Maybe there's a stipulation, 60-minute Iron Man match, 2 out of 3 falls, ladder match, workshop it however you want. It was a slam dunk, and the story was right there for them to do. Instead, AJ wrestled Shane McMahon in a really fun match. Styles proclaimed SmackDown the house that he built, and he beefed the commissioner because he thought he was being held back. He believed that the blue brand wasn't really the land of opportunity it was made out to be, and he took out his frustration on the first person he saw because he couldn't find his way onto the Mania card. They hyped this one up as Shane being a daredevil, and if AJ took his eye off the ball playing down to his opponent, it would blow up in his face. Strangely enough, this might go down as AJ's peak at WrestleMania. I think it's the best one of the bunch, and the weirdest part is the expectations weren't there. It's the opposite of when he's wrestling stars you'd expect him to have a barn burner with. The first bit is them trading blows and feel out, and it's actually much better than I remember. Shane kicks out of a finisher, and then once the ref gets taken out, this becomes really fun. AJ brings out the trash cans and attempts to go coast to coast himself before being hit by a bin and then eating one from Shane himself. McMahon flies high, eats an announce table for dinner, and then becomes prime Kurt Angle, hitting reversal DDTs and shooting star presses before AJ hits a phenomenal forearm and wins it. Now we move into the next year, a WrestleMania dream match for the ages, locked up just like that. Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles. This right here, some have written articles calling it the biggest letdown in WrestleMania history. We often talk about the dominating run from 2016 from AJ, and why it's given so much praise is WWE was able to take someone who was world traveled and immediately make them a marquee name. The thought process for many viewers was that Shinsuke would follow suit, so the rivalry was built on just that. Similar paths and respect. They included both their times in Japan in the promo package. The build really hammered home that this was a dream match, so much so that they don't even go for their death blows when they have the chance. They keep things civil because the message was that the match would do a lot of the heavy lifting, and that moment would truly prove who's the best. Why this one is as hyped up as it is because 2 years before this, both of them wrestled at Wrestle Kingdom 10, their last mega match before they both left the company, a match that set expectations very, very high for this one, and it almost suffers a major tax because of that. Let's be honest, this is not a bad match. Some people would make you think that this is the worst thing ever done, but because of the hype beforehand, because of WWE hyping the hell out of this, because of how they told you that, yeah, the online fans that have seen the match before this, we're gonna make it that much better, it gets shit on way more. It starts off well, it's enjoyable, the feel out is fun, but then they just start hitting move after move, resting, hitting a move, resting, hitting a move. They go through the motions, it almost feels like they're holding back. There's no intensity to it, it doesn't feel special, it's not a classic. The layout is really weird. There's still some fun sequences in short little spurts, but the crowd is also dead for this one, and that doesn't help at all. AJ wins just when you thought the match was about to pick up, and that's a wrap. After the match, AJ is given the WWE Championship by Shinsuke Nakamura. He hits him with a low blow, and Shinsuke Nakamura for the next few months becomes Shinsuke Nut Kamura. I'm fully convinced WWE was in a creative meeting and Vince went, what do we got for Nakamura? Vince, it's Nakamura. That's what I said. Nakamura. I'm a genius. Nakamura. The rivalry that came after this is something that I think we might need to explore soon, but before that, we return to the Bermuda Square of 2007. This time, it's Randy Orton who takes on AJ Styles. What really stuck out to me watching back a lot of these rivalries is there's not a lot of differentiation in a lot of these feuds. Randy said that SmackDown wasn't the house that AJ built, but it was something that was thanks to him. In 2002, he was wrestling in high school gyms while he was making his WWE debut. It was that haha, you were in the bingo halls while I was in the big time sort of deal. AJ calling the RKO a knockoff diamond cutter, Randy making fun of the Too Sweet. There's actually some pretty good promos between these two. AJ calls out Randy for failing drug tests, Randy saying that he would have been in WWE a long time ago if AJ was truly as good as he thought. Fun little build. It's not anything crazy, but it's good. Solid. It's just solid. Some might have had higher expectations on this one. It's a Randy Orton match. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. You know what you're gonna get. Back and forth, both guys looked good. It was something for both of them to do in WWE to get off the checklist. Very evenly matched contest. Dare I say it's even the sleeper of this entire resume. I remember this one because there were people inside MetLife Stadium who couldn't see at one point. Very off topic, but if you guys were at SoFi a couple years ago and sitting on that right side, I think it was, you would be blinded by a ginormous M, because I was blinded by a ginormous M. Speaking of blinding lights, we arrive at WrestleMania 36 where we get back onto the bus of the 2007 main eventers. This time it's AJ Styles versus The Undertaker. Now, if this one went through how it was supposed to, in front of a crowd, one-on-one, I don't know if it would be anything more than what you think it would probably be. Maybe it would have been no holds barred or a no DQ match, but thankfully this was a boneyard match. Kurt Angle told Undertaker to wrestle AJ after he was disappointed with the Goldberg match, essentially assuming it'd be a Styles carry job. The OC attacked Rey Mysterio before the Tawake Mountain Trophy finals. Undertaker came out, chokeslam, he wins, and we're on. AJ said he doesn't see a phenom anymore, he sees a broken down old man named Mark Calloway, and his conspiracy theory was that his wife Michelle keeps him coming back, essentially calling her a gold digger, and that she was running him into the ground and he would help. It's the normal he's a shell of what he once was type beat. The American Badass returned and told AJ that he only called his name once all the legends were gone. He was scared to come to WWE while all those top tier stars were still in their prime, that Michelle does the faith breaker, aka the Styles Clash, better than him, that she got it over, and he's gonna pay the price in a boneyard. I remember being under the impression that this was just gonna be a fancy casket match, and well, it was a fancy buried alive match. It's exactly what it should be, and all the supernatural voodoo and shenanigans make it a blast. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise, because I don't know how crazy a one-on-one match between these two in 2020 would have gone. It's a cinematic masterpiece, and it's awesome. So technically AJ Styles has main evented at WrestleMania. The next year he goes down the card a lot, and one thing I notice is they don't always have the biggest of plans for AJ Styles. In 2021, he was in Tag Team Purgatory in a nothing match against the New Day for the Tag Team Championships. It's him and Omos with the thought process that if they pair the two together, the Giant would take to things much quicker. This one was all about Styles winning the one championship he hasn't in WWE and crossing everything off the bucket list. The final stop on the 2007 World Tour of guys he should have faced much earlier is Edge in 2022. The two dream rivalries in the 2020s that I think just haven't hit are Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, and these two. I barely remember what their beef even was, and this rivalry is such a strange thing to look at because I start to wonder, how did it all go so wrong? Consider the fact that Edge, day one build with Maurice and Miz aside, just came off a brilliant trilogy with Seth Rollins where the story was a hit, the matches followed suit, and once that finished up, it just felt very properly done. Here Edge became very angry and very emo, sitting on his mountain of omnipotence, coming out with this purple light on his face and a new theme song after kicking AJ in the nuts. This Edge heel turn doesn't age well because within a matter of months, he changes his music, cuts his hair, creates the Judgment Day, and after this, he's kicked out of his own group and he feuds with Finn Balor for what feels like forever. The story here was that Edge wanted the best of AJ, and the other elements I don't really think aligned with why Edge was the way he was. The match at WrestleMania I think is the most underwhelming one. I don't care for this one whatsoever. It's the most disappointing one to me in the entire catalog. I don't think it's an enjoyable watch. It drags on for far too long, and it's just mid, and it kills me to say that because you would never think that. A lot of these just don't get into gears 3 or 4 and they end off at 2. The biggest hit to come out of this was to AJ's face via the WrestleMania stage. The crowd's not into it. Maybe it going overtime has something to do with it, but when I watched this one back, I just couldn't get into it. Damian Priest spawns at ringside and Edge counters a phenomenal forearm into a spear, which is a really cool way to end this. WrestleMania 39, he's not here because he's injured. The next year at 40, it's a really fun build against LA Knight. Home invasion, trip around the continent and all. And again, similar to the Shane match, when the expectations are not that high, he has a really good match. What I think would rank as the second best match right after the Shane 2017 one. This year it's against Logan Paul, and it's AJ Styles. Of course he's going to have a solid match. He's aged like fine wine, but it's inconsequential. There's no stakes. In 15 years, people are going to remember it as the classic Logan Paul feud, just with a different guy on the other side. AJ doesn't have that all-time special WrestleMania moment to his name. He doesn't have that all-timer match. It seems like WWE have played it safe for AJ or just not had that much for him to do. But really think about it. If I told you WWE would have AJ Styles for a decade at WrestleMania, you'd probably think he'd do special things. But all these years later, it's insane to say that the best match in his catalog is against Shane McMahon. One of them isn't even a proper match, and LA Knight probably rounds out any combination of the top 3. The matches you thought would be great weren't, and the matches you thought wouldn't be good ended up being among the best. On paper, this looks like something that's been crafted for him to rival the best of the best, but in execution, it hasn't been. WWE's booking of him, a very heavy reliance on the dream match angle, and lofty expectations have made for a strange WrestleMania resume.